Hey, what's up, everybody? Normally, I do like a little countdown to let you know that I'm going live. Well, surprise, I'm live. Um, and welcome to the first episode of 2024 of Shape the Podcast. I hope you all had a great holiday season. Um, and welcome. Tonight's episode is a very special episode. It's one that I've been looking forward to um, for a few months now. Um, if you haven't figured out, tonight's episode is all about You Matter. Um, I have two special guests, one which everybody knows, Mr. Shannon Klinkenbeard. If you don't know Shannon Klinkenbeard and you're in the bearding community, then you should know Shannon Klinkenbeard, and you'll get to know him as the night goes on. My other special guest is from the Health and Behavior Wellness Council of the Greater Colorado Valley in Texas, and that is Dr. Maisie Leftwich. She is the founder of the coalition, and this coalition is what the You Matter competition is going to be all about come January the 20th. They are the charity that's been chosen for You Matter. They're doing awesome things in the community down there in Texas. So I just want to, have a different episode tonight and bring both of them on um, to hear from a perspective of somebody who works around people who are suffering every day with, any type of mental illness, any type of just hurting in general. Uh, so they're going to be my special guest for the evening. I see I got two people watching. That's probably my wife and Shannon Klinkenbeard's wife. I'm not really sure, but hello. If you want to comment, you can comment tonight. I probably won't pop up your comments because I'll be busy talking to my guests this evening. But you can always leave comments, and I will get back to them sometime, either tonight or during the rebroadcast of the show. But one important thing. It's my son's 7th birthday, so happy birthday to my son Liam. Um, he won't see this, but just know that I love you, and one day you'll see this and you'll be like, yeah, my dad's awesome. So with that, guys, I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to bring on my special guest. I'm going to bring him on at the same time because I can. But there's one, Shannon Klinkenbeard, and then two, Dr. Maisie Leftwich. Guys, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I got nothing but love for you, Shannon. You're an outstanding individual. And don't worry, Mr. Leftwich, by the end of the show, I'll have nothing for love for you as well. So,
That's good to know.
Yes, I actually love everybody. I try not to hate. I used to be full of hate and anger back in the day, but I've changed that perspective of my life and to be a more positive outlook. So first of all, I'll start with you, Shannon. For those of you who don't know you, tell everybody who you are.
Not much to tell. Shannon Klinkenbeard, live here in LaGrange, Texas. Co-founder of the You Matter Beard Mustache Competition, and it is benefiting the Health and Behavioral Wellness Council that Dr. Maisie has founded, and it's really been a blessing working with them. It truly has, and the work they're doing, not just that, but the people that they are. So, yeah, that's me. That's not much to tell.
Well, that's a great introduction, and what a segue to lead into our other guest, Dr. Maisie. Can I call you that? Is that better, or do you want me to call you the whole thing? Because I'll call you the whole name.
She froze.
Oh, she froze. Well, and she froze. Well, our guest is froze, so you'll probably have to tell her to come back and let's see.
Yeah, she froze.
Yep. Well, hey. She froze. I'm sure Shannon's working on that, on getting her resituated.
But she will be. I can answer your question.
Yes.
She will be. She's more than happy with Dr. Maisie or just Maisie.
Yes. But yeah, technical difficulties on some ends. But she'll be back in a second. But yeah, Shannon, since you're on here, tell everybody who doesn't know about the UMatter competition coming up January 20th.
So January 20th, 2 weeks from tomorrow, right here in LaGrange, Texas, at the historic Casino Hall. Absolutely beautiful venue. It is an amazing place. We'll have our 3rd annual UMatter Beard and Mustache competition hosted by Honest Amish. And all proceeds go to the Health and Behavioral Wellness Council that Dr. Mazey is the founder of and chair of. It's just so a little backstory on her is she's a retired therapist, and they actually retired and moved to the country. And once getting there, got to know the Colorado County judge, which is the next county over. And discussions came up of the lack of. Here she comes. I think she's back on now.
Yep, she is.
I gave up on my computer and I'm on my phone.
Hey,
there you go.
Well, it's okay. It happens.
Living in the country, I can tell you, internet comes and goes, electricity comes and goes.
There you go. But by the way, I'll have Shannon putting up the comments tonight.
Okay.
Thank you. So Miss Dr. Mazey, explain to everybody who you are. Everybody knows Shannon, but people don't know who you are. Get to talking.
Okay. Well, I was a clinician. I have a master's in social work and a doctorate in psychology. I had a Christian or faith-based clinic in Richmond, Texas, and opened up a second one in Sugar Land about 10 years into practicing. And we offered every type of counseling. I had different counselors working for me, and
Nice.
including biofeedback and an addiction specialist, and did that for about 40 years. Part of my internship and first year out of grad school was working in a psychiatric hospital. So after that, I thought raising kids was going to be, not a problem at all. I knew how to handle anything.
Yeah.
But I've always been very involved in community in a lot of different ways. I've helped start several nonprofits, and I've always focused on what are the needs of the community. So when my husband and I built our dream home out in the country, we started coming, on weekends and such, and getting to know people. And after several years, we were involved in Boys and Girls Club and some church activities and the Chamber of Commerce. And then we did retire out here 7.5 years ago. But at that point, the county judge, we'd gotten to know the county judge, Ty Krause, and he asked me, having gotten to know me and know the history of things I had done, he asked me how we could solve a problem that the community was having, the county was having, because of crisis, mental health crisis, without the proper folks to take care of those crises. What happens, and this is true across the United States, when there is a crisis, what do people do? They call 911. Now, on the other end of 911, you're going to get a police, sheriff department, or the EMS, or the fire department. Now, all of those are essential people for a healthy community. But few, if any, have mental health training.
Which is crazy. You would think, and by the way, there goes your retirement when the county judge asks you to do this.
Well, how do you say no?
Yeah, you're no longer retired.
He didn't really know what he was asking for.
Yeah.
And
he had no idea, huh?
He really didn't know what he was asking for, and he didn't know that if I'm like a dog on a bone. If I get my sights set on something, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to work it. I'm going to work it from every angle, and I'll dedicate myself. And one thing I didn't say, I am a retired ordained Methodist minister, and I really have focused my life on the counseling aspect
Hmm.
for ministry. I just preached last Sunday, but I will fill in for a pastor if they're on vacation or such. But I've
Nice.
really focused on counseling and helping people. And so it was just natural that when the judge asked for what can we do, he really was saying we need to do something. What can
Yeah.
we do?
Yes.
That kind of
Yeah.
thing. Well, the good side of that was that when I was in the Fort Bend County area, which is just outside of Houston, I had been a part of a small group that started a health council there, and
Mm.
I had also personally instigated and pushed for a mental health deputy in that county. They now have, I think, 16 of them.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, well, it's growing community, and
uh,
that crisis intervention team is very important. So, I had that history behind me. I also had served on the Texas Commission on Alcohol and Drug Prevention and
mhm.
Treatment for 10 years, and had worked a lot with addiction, and that's always a thing to look at when someone is having a crisis,
Uh,
because sometimes you think you're pretty stable until you have a little bit too much to drink, and or
uh,
sniff or whatever you do, with
yeah.
alcohol and drugs. And so that background was also helpful. So what happened is I said, well, let me do some thinking about what I think would work. By that time, we had been in the county long enough that I had a good feel for
Hmm.
for it. It's a large county with, like, I think it's 963 square miles, but it only has like 21,000 population,
Oh
and they're
wow.
people are very scattered out, around in little burgs, and there's three towns, and none of them are much more than 3,000 people. So it's real hard to get services. It's hard to get professionals to set up practices of any sort. So I told him I thought we needed to start with a task force and see what kind of interest we could get in the community. And he said, well, what does that involve? I said, well, the first thing it involves is I've got to get people to know who I am and what the general idea of it is. And so my husband and I spent a full year going and speaking with. And this is something real important if anyone's listening that wants to know about starting a nonprofit and getting support. You have to go to the people that are in leadership, and you have to go very wide array of people. So we have 3 school districts. We talk to the
Mm.
superintendents. We talk to people that were principals and counselors, and people who are over um, special programs in these schools. Then we went to 3 police departments, 3 fire departments, 3 mayors, 3 city managers. We then started trying to figure out who was providing any kind of service that was related to helping people. And that was real interesting, because what we found is sometimes a group would be 2 blocks apart and they didn't even know they existed,
Wow.
each other. Yeah.
Uh,
Now, I'm going to tell you, this is not a one off situation. I think this is very common. But we kept ferreting out where were the services, not just a city or state or county service, but the nonprofits, and many times those are hidden. So
mm,
once we had I had an org chart, and I had the mission and vision. All of those things kind of worked out from my past experiences. So when we met with someone, I left them material to look at that said, we're going to have a behavioral health task force. This is its focus. We're going to be solution focused. We're going to
mm.
work at bringing in services. We're going to look at what providers there are, and so people can network and get to know each other so they can refer to each other. Oh, we went to churches. I've been a member of the Ministerial Alliance, so that kind of helped too for
Hmm.
connections with churches. But I sent out an email, and we had 75 people show up at our first meeting. It totally blew us all away that we had that kind of response.
Yeah.
And that task force had 6 committees. Each one was assigned specifics, goals, and time frames that I had set up, and people just jumped on board and started doing this. And that tells you how big a need there is
Yeah. It's
about.
very important.
Well, it is, and I use the term behavioral health because we used to just say mental health.
Hmm.
But in behavioral health, you have you have your mental health issues, the different disorders and challenges. You have your developmental disorders, and so some people are born with brains that function differently.
Yeah.
It could be from a brain injury, from a bacterial disease of the brain. It could be the ADHD that we see so many people having. But those are developmental issues. And then, so that's one area of behavioral health. The mental health is one area. And then the third area is the you have addiction issues in there, and so we were looking at this big array of issues and challenges that people can fight with, fight or have to fight to overcome. And with that, then we started moving forward, and I did a survey right off the bat. And number one was crisis intervention need,
Mm.
and people had stories to tell about someone in their family or a neighbor or a friend's child or something getting out of control, and the police showing up, the sirens
Hmm.
going, the
Yeah.
guns on the hip, all that whole thing.
It's quite
And
scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the last thing you need if you are emotionally distraught is a authoritative figure that's carrying a gun on their hip, and
Hmm.
has their sirens going. So we set our focus on we need to have a mental health deputy, and we had missed by about 3 months a grant that was going out across the nation to help fund that.
Mm.
There was COVID had just was just trailing off, and there was a lot of COVID money, but the state would not let any of it be used for a mental health deputy. So we started a campaign
But
to raise local money. And in that same kind of time period, we incorporated as a nonprofit, and the full name is the Health and Behavioral Wellness Council of Greater Colorado Valley, because we didn't want to
mhm.
just limit it to the county,
Yeah.
because we have people from Fayette that come to the hospital here, who come to the physicians here, who come to PT. They've lost their hospital in that county, which is not unusual. And the rural county has a lot of hospitals closing across the nation. And so we have a lot of people coming from that county as well as other surrounding counties. And we also have people that want to go to something special in these surrounding counties. So we just
Hmm.
said Greater Colorado Valley. We incorporated, and then we just kind of slid everything over very smoothly. And but we did a realign with some new committees and kind of trailed off on a couple that had completed their tasks. So that's how we got started,
Wow.
and it's been an amazing journey. But I have to say, one of the most amazing things is I knew a woman who was the clinic manager of the Columbus Community Hospital's clinic, and she had gotten involved with us early on. And one day she called me. She says, "Hey, my husband has a friend who has been a very, very good friend,
That guy right
and
there.
right
That's who.
there, yeah,
That's who you're fixing
and
to talk about. Yeah.
her husband's daughter, her stepdaughter, was 17 and committed suicide.
Mm.
And she was one of those that no one would ever think had any problem. She was a great student. She was popular. She was an athlete. She was outgoing. And one day she chose to take her life. And what a horrific thing. I mean, you were talking about your 7-year-old. I have 4 children, 6 grandchildren. What a horrible thing
Yeah.
for any parent or grandparent to have to deal with. And Shannon stood by this man and gave him support that was probably life-saving for him, according to the wife.
Yeah.
And she said, he does this beard and mustache stuff. And they do some fundraising, and they want a nonprofit to donate what they raise. And I said, well, I'd be glad to talk to him.
Hmm.
And Shannon, I will never forget our phone call, because I'm sitting there thinking, I've never heard of a beard and mustache contest. I'm like in the dark about this. And so he's telling me about that, and that they do different little things that make some money. And I said, oh man, I said that would help us so much, because we have no fundraising, other than the fact that we were trying to ask local people to help fund this mental health deputy.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to come to our next meeting, and I want to introduce you. And I said, I want to introduce the idea that there's a beard and mustache contest that going all over the world. And he said, well, I don't know. Now, this, I will tell you, it was kind of strange. I don't know about that. Us folks, we got a lot of hair, we got tattoos. And if we walk through the Walmart parking lot and there's a woman sitting in her car, you hear the click of the lock. And I was like, well, that's kind of like Duck Dynasty folks, isn't it? I mean, it sounds like that to me.
Yeah,
Come on.
So some of us don't like to be referred to as a Duck Dynasty character.
Hey, well, that may be true, but I see that as very positive. For me, those are people of faith,
Yeah.
and people that are
Yeah.
positive in the action. Now, they may be a little strange too, but who isn't?
Yeah, it's
I
true.
certainly think I have
Nobody's-
strange.
Nobody is normal. There's no such thing as normal. Nobody's normal.
No, normal is relative. You're right. Normal is
No,
relative.
normal's a setting on the dryer. Okay, everybody.
Yeah, you're right. So anyway, he and his wife Tisha, a lovely woman, and some of the other friends in the bearding community came to our meeting, and we introduced them. And I think there were a lot of people kind of with their jaws dropped about, well, what is that? Because they were like me, they didn't know anything about it. And what's interesting is there's so much of good things going on that people don't know about.
Yeah.
And then we had lunch afterwards that my husband and I did with Shannon and his group. And if anything, I'd have just said, yeah, we're just all normal people. They just happen to have a little more facial hair than I do.
Yeah.
And it's been forward since then. And of course, Shannon along the way decided to start the contest locally with the Humana contest, and so that was an eye opener for all of us that didn't know anything about it. And some people are quick to make judgment on
Yes.
external factors about folks, and there's a lot of bad that comes out of that.
Yeah.
And if people can be open to get to know the person and the people, you find that we're not really so different.
Well, it's the like for me, especially with starting this podcast I've been doing, I'm trying to break the stigma of mental health. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, and I like the way that you described it as behavior, and you put it in that type of alliance, so to speak, because mental health, like you said earlier, it encompasses not just one thing, like numerous different things, and like I can tell you right now, the breeding community has 100% helped my mental health, because I found a place where I belonged. You know, even
Mhm.
now with a short beard, because I used to have a pretty decent sized beard, but once, yeah, it was compared to that guy, all right, compared to Shannon's.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah. I mean,
the ultimate,
but
isn't it?
but you know, like I found a community that has great people in it with great
Mhm.
hearts. You know,
Oh, yeah.
um, just like with you. You know, here you are, you retired, and then you picked up the shield, the only shield that you knew, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do something about that. You know, now how, in the greater Colorado Valley, how many agents do you have now, or how many officers do you have now under that? You
How
still have
many?
just like mental health officers, behavior, that go to these
Well,
monitoring
we
checks.
we were able. Okay, so we had to get the county. Oh, this is also can be a challenge.
All right.
We had to get the county to agree to hiring a mental health deputy, which meant we had to work closely with the sheriff's department. And I have huge respect for law enforcement,
Yep.
but they are definitely a unique group with very clear experiences that have taught them a lot about life
Mm-hmm.
and have clear opinions about how things should be operated. I don't judge that as bad. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that because when you throw something new at them, they have to really look at it and understand it before they can embrace it.
Hmm.
And so it took some explaining and then saying call the next county over that Fayette County does have a mental health deputy. Call
Yeah.
them and talk to the sheriff there, or call Fort Bend County that now has 16. Find
Mm-hmm.
out what difference it makes and how it will help the community and help your department. And so once we got all of that settled, then we went to the commissioner's court because we had to get their approval.
It's crazy.
Well, I
That's
mean,
insane.
you have to have patience to work through
Yeah.
all those steps. But
Yeah.
we had to get their approval, but they didn't have the money in the budget, so I had to
Mm.
go to them to get the approval.
Mm-hmm.
But then also say we're going to bring money to you to pay for this.
Yeah.
So in the long run, what we did was we as a nonprofit said we will raise $300,000
Mm.
for. We estimated with a specialized automobile, the
Yeah.
training, travel, benefits, and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it was somewhere between 93 and 100,000. Believe me, the deputy does not get all that, but
Yeah. True.
okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we just rounded up because you never know about incidental, especially with specialized training and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say 100,000 a year, and we will raise $300,000 for a 3-year period. But we don't want all of a sudden to get all of this going and then it disappear, because that happened in Wharton County next door to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked them, will you as commissioners court agree that if we do that and provide the money for 3 years, that you will automatically make this a permanent position and you'll pick up the tab starting the 4th year? And they agreed. And then the race was on.
Yeah. I bet. And
So, and I'm gonna
it's been
tell you,
how
when you
long?
only have 20,000 people in a county, where do you get $300,000? And there's other entities that raise money, to
Yeah.
operate.
Yep.
So we had a huge blessing that a couple, um, Todd and Morgan
Oop.
Barton. Yeah, all of a sudden I had a brain lapse. Todd and Morgan Barton, and they're fine to let their name be used.
Yeah.
They called us one day and said, we both have lost a brother to suicide, and they'd both been through so much. They said, we're going to kickstart it with $100,000. Blew us away.
Man, yeah, that's
But I mean,
that's
you have
amazing.
that as momentum, then everybody is excited. Then one church came forward and said, we'll pledge $100 a month for 3 years. And then that pastor challenged other pastors. So we now have 7 churches that donate $1,200 a month. And to have that kind of local support
Yeah,
on that, that's grassroots, you know.
and that tells you how important um this is to the community that you live in. You know,
Kyle, that is
and
so important. That is
yeah,
so true. When
yeah,
you have someone that gives you that kind of
yeah,
support, that many people, and then my husband and I wrote a letter and sent out to people that we knew that could afford to be generous. I guess I'll put it that way. And in the meantime, we're in the midst of that, just getting that started when I got the call from Shannon. And then I don't know, Shannon, I can't remember what month that was, but all I know is about 2 months later, it seems like you said, we're going to have a beard and mustache contest here. I went, oh, well,
yeah.
great, because that was going to magnify and multiply out the kind of funds they normally made. And it's been fabulous event. I know, Shannon, how many different states were represented last year? Like 12 or 14?
We had 17 different states here last year.
17. Oh
Yep.
my goodness gracious. Yeah, I knew it was quite a few. And the first year, I think I walked around with my, jaw dropped a little bit as I looked at some of these
Yeah.
magnificent facial hair. And this, I remember this one guy, I think he was like 36 inches long or something. And he wasn't real tall, so it was a lot of his body was covered with this. Shannon, you know who I'm talking about?
Charlie Goebel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's Goebel. Yeah,
Yep.
Goebel's down at his ankles pretty much.
yeah.
It's
And then,
long.
and another one that I thought, and that may have that this may have been the first year or the second year. One man came dressed up as the ringmaster in a circus, and he had that red and white outfit with the black boot. Who was that? And he had the handlebar
That was
mustache.
Phil.
No,
Yeah,
Phil hasn't been there yet.
It
no,
wasn't Phil Jones.
Mm-mm.
Who was? Because
Who was it?
Phil does that, or he used to do that.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name. He's from San Antonio. He came the first year.
it was a
He
magnificent
yeah.
outfit with the. I mean, it just worked perfect. And Tisha, Shannon's wife, the first year for the women's. She was so clever. Well, they were all clever. They were all clever,
Mm-hmm.
but she had the German Frau outfit. The German Bavarian outfit on, and she'd made her beard out of. She had miniature beer mugs, and I don't know, remember if it was pretzels or wieners or whatever. It was so clever.
Shannon's actually looking for it right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I remember the first You Matter. I remember it. I wasn't there, but I remember how much it was spoke of. The fundraising that went into it. I'll tell you, it's been overwhelming. Being a person who supports the breeding community, to see the numbers that have been brought on by one thing, You Matter. A competition that goes to helping behavioral health, mental health. For
Mhm.
people to get together like that and raise how many thousands of dollars now, Shannon?
So far 55,000
50,
$55,000.
$55,000. Yeah,
in
Yeah.
two
2
years.
years. I mean,
Yeah.
after this year, it's going to go up. But
So speaking of that, so Dr.
yeah, go
Maisie,
ahead.
do you know off the top of your head how much is left to reach the 300,000 commitment?
Yeah,
I think we need $35,000 or thereabouts. Is what
that's
we
Okay.
it.
need.
That's
Yep.
it. And
Yeah.
I mean, um for anybody who's watching who's not going to be at the You Matter competition, I unfortunately won't be there. But if you want to help this cause, if you want to help them, right? Not only Dr. Maisie and her great group down there, but if you want to help Shannon and his amazing beard group, and you want to donate money to it, go ahead, do it. Support, support them. Um, I'm sure Shannon can easily give out the PayPal to where to send the money, because look, in the bidding community, whenever you do any type of bidding event, all the proceeds go to the charity, and I'm a firm believer that what's going on down there in the greater Colorado Valley down in Texas, it should be going on all over. Because for me, I think that mental behavioral health needs to be up there at the top of the forefront of this country, because so many people out there are struggling that they don't know where to go to, and so for two individuals like you two to come together and to have this cause, it's I mean, for me it's a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, there you go. That's the PayPal information. The Big Shave MF5@gmail.com. If you want to donate to the cause on PayPal, because a lot of people will watch this later on. So all you rewatchers and all the people live, let's help get this $35,000 goal. It would be awesome to do it between now and January the 20th. I'm just saying.
It'd be great.
That would
Yeah,
be pretty awesome.
I want to talk about something else though that those funds have also paid for, because it's a very important. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of knowledge that people have about mental health disorders, the lack of the lifelong struggle people have, the lack of understanding that you can have horrible depression and there's treatment, there's
Yeah.
hotlines, there's people 24/7 that will talk to you. I always want to say, tell people about 988. It is a
Yep.
national hotline for texting or talking, and it's 24/7, and they also have Spanish speakers. And but people don't know about these resources,
Yeah.
and people don't know that anxiety comes in a lot of different forms. But again, there's treatment, and you don't have to be caught up in misery all of your life. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the big things that we are doing, and it really has turned into a big thing, and that is we're doing awareness campaigns to try to get information out and to bring mental health awareness and to remove the stigma. And you have to
Mm.
say the same thing over and over. Yeah.
Tell them about the Stop Bullying art campaign, art contest
Okay.
that y'all did.
Yeah. So we have different themes. We had 7 campaigns last year, and we did, on 7 different months we had a focus. One was suicide, one prevention, one was autism and Asperger's
Mm-hmm.
syndrome. Um, One was mental health month, where we talked about depression and anxiety, and then in October is a national stop bullying month. And so we had yard. This was our second year to do stop bullying, and we had yard signs that when we were taking them to the schools this past October,
Mm-hmm.
they had faded out stop bullying yard signs from the year before because the schools wanted them up all the time. I don't know about y'all. I was bullied,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I'm a pretty tough cookie, but it got to me, and I was in high school when it happened.
Yeah.
Um, and I worked with so many people who had been bullied as a child, and as a mature adult, they still felt as a victim, and they saw themselves as a victim, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to stand up for themselves, and they had anxiety and or depression. So this year we decided we will have a stop bullying art contest. One of the ladies in our officers group said, "What about so and so?" And we're like, "Oh, that would be great." And we have Columbus was founded very early in Texas history, and it has some very, very old buildings that have been refurbished. Well,
Mhm.
there's an art center now, the Live Oak Art Center, that used to be a saloon and is supposed to be haunted because there was a gunfight in the saloon and someone
Yeah.
died. So anyway,
Oh wow.
that's the story behind the Live Oak Art Center.
Yeah.
And so we asked them if they have a gallery downstairs, and they always have professional things going. They have an upstairs gallery that's bigger,
Hmm.
and they let different um, less than professional folks exhibit there. I mean, different groups and everything. So we asked if we could have the entire month of October, because we wanted to have an art contest and see if we could get kids involved. And so
Nice.
we put flyers together that we put on a heavy stock paper, and it had all the instructions on one side, and we said, do your artwork on the opposite side. That way we knew everybody'd have the same kind of paper and all that.
Yeah.
We had 350 students from local schools submit artwork. And
That's pretty
it,
awesome.
oh my gosh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And who would think that they would just scream from the paper at you the pain they were
Mm.
having? But you could
Yeah.
see in the artwork those who just did something, they looked on the internet, copied something down. But
Yeah.
you could see the kids who were suffering. And they would even, some of them would draw this figure being beat up or looking, really, really sad and anxious. And then they'd have little like cartoon little bubbles that would say, help me, or
Mm.
I'm so lonely, and things
Yeah.
like that. And of course, then there were some who were just fabulous artists, young, beautiful artwork. So we ended up having, we had first, second, and third place in 4 different categories of age.
Hmm.
And then we went from having that for, we did one on theme, we did one on artistic work. We did one on creativity. So we had almost 50 different awards, and we had beautiful medallions with paintbrushes that were on them for artists, and our seal on the back. And
Yeah.
we, for the top winners, we gave these. You could buy on Amazon these beautiful art kits that have like 50 pieces with several different ways of, like markers and paint and chalk and things like that. And we gave
Hmm.
that out for the grand prize one. And we gave gift cards to
Yeah.
Walmart so they could go buy art
That's all.
supplies themselves.
That's awesome.
So anyway, but 350 of them. And I will say I ended up calling several local schools. Well, there were different local schools, and said we didn't have their name on the front
Hmm.
of the artwork. Everything was on the opposite side from the artwork. But in getting hanging up, by the way, hanging up 350 pieces of artwork by kids is an interesting process.
I bet. Yeah.
But as we were hanging it up and looking, as a clinician, I used art therapy.
Hmm.
Art therapy allows people to be expressive without having this communication issue. So a young child can tell you volumes about their pain, their struggles, their issues when they don't even talk very well.
Yeah.
And so I saw several that disturbed me greatly, because I thought this child needs someone to notice them. And so I called and I said, so I know you don't have, you cannot confide in me
Hmm.
anything, but I can tell you that I have, as a clinician, a concern about this child, and if they're not on your watch list,
They should be. Yeah.
they should be.
Yep.
And so the schools were very appreciative. And what's interesting, all these art teachers showed up. We had a reception,
Hmm.
and we had like 150 people show up at our reception, and one evening where we gave out awards and had little appetizers and things. And these kids were so proud. They were so proud. You could tell, and different parents would tell us, they've never entered anything. They've never won anything. And so I'm glad we expanded the type and categories of awards, because it
Hmm.
allowed us to give back to these kids some recognition and encouragement, whether they were artistic or whether they were really suffering, to know that that was recognized by adults. And the art teachers were so supportive, and all of them came that had kids that had entered, and they said, please do this again. It has opened up communication in my classroom, and we have talked about bullying. We've talked about what it means to be bullied, what it means to watch someone being bullied and feel like you
Hmm.
can't step in, and what does it mean if you're the bully.
Mm.
And this is very interesting, Kyle, that research shows that even if you're the bully, you have very similar long-term odds of having depression and or anxiety or
Hmm.
PTSD, even when you're the bully. Who would
Because
think that?
it's not fun being a bully, and it's not fun being bullied. Right?
No.
They go hand in hand.
So anyway,
No.
the part of the You Matter money has gone directly to support those awareness campaigns, and we have flyers, we have posters, we had the yard signs, we've had bracelets. These kids love those silicone bracelets, and
Yeah.
we had encouraging words on them, like, I am okay, I'm a good person, I have a beautiful soul, I have, different things like that.
Hmm.
And at our county fair parade, we distributed 500 of those during that
Yep.
suicide prevention month. So that money is being used that way as well, and we're just we're we're so blessed. It's a God thing. It
Yeah.
truly is a God thing.
Now with the with this artwork that was done, did you auction any of it off afterwards, or did you let each kid take the pieces home?
No, no, we did not auction them off. I think partly because we did keep the kids' names private, except for announcing the winners. But we did let the art teachers know um, in advance. You have 6 winners from your 4th grade class or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
And is there anyone in your class that would not want their
To be
name
recognized. Yeah.
announced to be recognized? And
Hmm.
they all say, "Oh no, it'd be great. It'd be great for
Yeah.
them." And so I'm a little worried, because I think when we do that again this year, we could easily have 500,
Yeah.
and
I see it.
Yep.
yeah, and Tisha was one of our judges, and that was a tough job
Because you
because
got to think that, like you said, that opened up communications within the schools about it.
oh
But
yeah,
now other kids are hearing about it. Other kids that have been silent this whole time. You
right.
know.
One of the stories, the drawings that touched her was from a bully that did not realize how he was bullying someone.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And I do remember. Was it last year at your competition, Shannon, or the year before last? When that painting that was done by that little girl went
We
for.
had one each year. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, when you get kids involved, and that's the breeding community, it's a family oriented thing, but when you can have a child that's involved that knows that mental behavioral health is important, and to do a painting like that, and for it to raise, how much money did like both of them raise?
Year one was 3,700, and year two, which was actually bought by them, was I
Uh,
think 12 something.
a painting, yeah, the red door. I remember that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a remarkable. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome that now you had this month to where kids can be involved and they can share their hope, and they can share their what they're going through all via a painting. So
Mm.
I mean, I think that's outstanding, that what you're doing, especially with the kids, because really it all starts when you're young. If you can teach the kids now about the ways of how to grow up the right way don't be a bully. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't be. You know, if you can teach the kids the right way and get them to grow up that way and get them to learn, then that's an amazing step. You know, but
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I was bullied in high school. Heck, I was bullied all through growing up. But you know, it's I just think it's amazing that you get 300 kids involved, and did you say 500? I'm a just go ahead and say probably 600. Okay, let's
Could
let's
be.
let's see 600 paintings, you know, on the wall, which would be amazing. You know,
It
and
was amazing to walk into that
yeah,
huge room and the walls were filled. I mean,
yeah,
Yep.
it was amazing. It
I'm
was
sure,
a
and I'm you know for to see that it touches your soul and it touches your heart because to see the impact that you're having, you know, that anybody, as long as you do something positive in this life that we
Mhm.
live, to see the impact that it has on other people, you can't help but get filled with some type of emotion, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
that's
I will tell you, besides that, and the suicide prevention and the autism and the depression, anxiety, in February last year we took a different route, and we're going to do it again this year, and focus on random acts of kindness
mm,
and really focus on the positive that happens every day. A lot of times not noticed, and we've had a strategic planning meeting early December, so we could really plan out a year and be very efficient because it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of folks involved to put out 200 or 300 flyers in a community that's scattered with
yeah,
three small towns and a bunch of little burgs, and we've really tried to get the word out on all these things. But last year we had bumper stickers for random acts of kindness, and we ran out. So we've doubled our order on that for this year. But the other thing I think we're
nice,
going to do is we're going to let people send in um, vote on people that they are like, or submit someone's name for being especially kind,
mm-hmm,
and then recognize these people at the end of the month. And so
yeah,
we'll put it in the newspaper, we'll put it in the chamber newsletters. There's three chambers. We'll send it to the schools and to the churches and say, please nominate someone who has been especially kind, and tell what they did and who they are, and then
mm-hmm,
and we'll like to recognize them. And so I don't know, we may have a page in the local paper or on our Facebook page, but people need to be encouraged to be kind,
yeah,
because uh, there's a lot
it's
of division in our world, in our
yeah, yeah,
country, a lot of people that have gotten stirred up and filled with hatred over nonsense and
mm-hmm,
untruths.
yeah.
Yeah, lots of untruths.
Yeah,
So,
that's a very hard thing, especially this day and age. You know, because what do you see on TV all the time? Negative, negative, negative. You never really see
uh,
much positive stuff. Heck, I mean, uh, you might see like something positive what the bidding community does, but it's on like a morning talk show and it's like a blurb. You know,
yeah,
I I
right.
I really wished that you saw more positive stuff on the TV. But then again, if you saw more positive stuff on the news and on TV, you wouldn't get anybody watching it because everybody watches it for the bad stuff, not the good stuff.
Oh,
You know?
it's so sad. We in November, this past November, we we didn't do a huge campaign, but we
Hmm.
sent out the word to be grateful.
Yeah.
And I did a presentation about how when you wake up in the morning and you spend your first minute or two, just say thank you for these, the blessings I've had. Thank you for this person who reached out to me and called me to see how I was doing. Thank you for the home I live in, or for the
Yeah.
relationships. That they actually have research based on brain imaging that shows that when you start off and focus on gratitude, even for just 1 minute, it actually changes the neurotransmitters so that you have the good positive feelings
Hmm.
that will, and if you do that every day, what ends up happening is you actually change that kind of place where you were to a little higher place of better feeling. You can
Yeah.
have a huge impact on your own brain chemistry.
Yep.
And so we sent the word out. We put flyers up on that, and then we decided we would focus on firefighters because we are all grateful. And when I sit in the middle of the woods in a log home, I want you to know I am thrilled. I am 1 mile from the fire department. And so we wanted to honor them, and it turned out that in November, all 10, only have volunteer fire departments
Mm.
in this county.
Mm.
All 10 volunteer fire departments have a meeting, and sometimes they have two people come or one person from each fire department. Well, we told them we're going to cater a meal to say thank you
Hmm.
and show our gratitude. Well, they had over 50 firefighters show up. And we had the typical Southern chicken fried steak and
Hmm.
gravy and mashed potatoes and green beans and yeast rolls. Oh, it was so good. And they'd never had anyone. I mean, people have said thank you many times to
Yeah.
firefighters, but they'd never had that kind of effort put out for them in that way. And it was just a small thing. But again,
Yeah.
you know, it beats
Well,
watching the negative news.
one small positive thing can lead to a lot of positive things.
It magnifies.
Yep.
It,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's all it takes. It takes one spark of positivity for others to catch it. Like like in the Brady community, it takes one person starting "You Matter," right, and then it
Right.
sparks a flame. It sparks a flame across the United States and even overseas. That people catch this and people want to do something positive and people want to help out. I
Right.
mean that's all it takes. But it also takes one negative thought, one negative action for people to catch and for that the magnitude as well. What
Mhm.
I want, what I want and what I'm a firm believer in is that I believe that, you know, we can spark more positivity in this world if we all try, you know. And
Right.
that's all it comes down to. You know, it comes down to be a better person. It's not that hard to do good. It's not that hard.
It's easier than being ugly. It's
You,
easier than being mean.
you say good morning. You say good morning to somebody, or you say hello to somebody. You never know how much you might impact their life just by just doing that.
Yes.
You know, I mean, and that's what I do. First thing when I get to work, I say good morning to whoever I'm working with. Because you never
Mhm.
know. They might be having a bad day, but if you come across somebody and you say hello, you never know what impact you might have on that person's life. You know,
I agree.
and
I agree. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for
oh,
inviting me. I
I
really appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about
yeah,
what we do
I think it's
and to
awesome.
publicly say thank you to Shannon
Yes.
because he's making a huge difference here.
Hey, Shannon is just part of the underlining part of it. What you're doing is what matters the most. We just us as British fellas and as ladies who like us British fellas. What we do in our community is amazing. But what people like you are doing to bring the forefront of mental health and behavioral health to the eyes of people who need to see it. That's what the amazing part is. So, but I always ask. Go ahead, Shannon.
And this is not the success of You Matter has absolutely been a community effort. It
Yes,
has not been a
big time.
Shannon effort or a
Yeah.
Shannon and Tisha effort.
Nope.
It's been absolute community effort that has made it what it is.
Yep.
And now we have several members, obviously Dr. Maisie and her husband
Yeah.
Brent and several members of the council that are heavily involved in it this year. It's
Yep.
a community effort. It is not a
Yeah.
Shannon
You were
thing.
you were the spark that sparked
Yep.
the community,
Yep.
No.
and
Indeed.
that's and there were a couple other people behind it too. But before I wrap up the show, because I'm gonna get both of you, I'm gonna get both your thoughts or whatever on this. So at the end of my show, I always ask my guests if there's anything that you could say out there to anybody who's going through something. Hey, Keith Buckler, I love you. That guy, and I don't mean to get off in a tangent, but he, I don't want to cry, but that man has had a big impact on my life. All right, so Keith, I love you, man. But before we wrap up, if there's anything you could tell people out there that are going through just anything, whether it be bullying, thoughts of suicide, depression, anything like that. And I'll start with Shannon first. What's the one thing you could tell them, Shannon?
I think a big thing for me, and not to say, helping people or being helped by folks is listen, genuinely listen. Somebody opens up to you, and that's been a huge blessing of this whole You Matter thing, is the people that have opened up to me and shared their stories. It's been absolutely unreal. Listen. Sometimes you might be the only one that listens to somebody. And if you have issues or things you're going through, talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And if somebody does and confides in you, it stays there. This has been an absolutely unreal journey, and it's truly been a community effort. We have been majorly blessed by it. The gentleman that was talking about at the beginning of the show that got me in touch with Dr. Maisie, we cried together regularly. We office side by side at work, so we see each other daily. You never know just by listening to somebody. They don't always need your advice. They need your ear.
Yeah. It's true. What I would say, Kyle, is that anyone that would listen to your podcast, they need to know that they personally do matter, whatever their circumstances. We're all, and I'm a lady of faith. I'll just tell you, deep, deep faith. I believe truly that God created all of us equal, that He loves us dearly. Doesn't matter what you've done. He continues to love you. And forgiveness is as simple as asking for it. But you can be in the depths. I've had some tough times in my life, and I can say that you can be in the depths of despair about something or shame, and you can get out of that. There's always a way. You just have to know that your life matters, and that you have to sometimes dig for the resources to get the help you need, but we're all lovable, beautiful creations of God.
Well, thank you both for coming on and being part of my podcast tonight. I can tell you right now, it's probably the most watched live episode. Just because I can see the viewers and I can see the comments and everything coming in, but that's not why I do this podcast. I do this podcast in hopes that even one person, because it starts with one person, like I said, one person to get a message out of it, and for them to know that they're not alone, and that they matter. All right. So,
and like Dr. May, I'm going to interject just real quick.
Go ahead.
Dr. Maisie talked about, we've all had hard times. You can come out of it. There was a video I saw one time. A gentleman was talking. He had two $20 bills. One of them was a brand new, crisp $20 bill, clean edges, no wrinkles. And another one has been gone through the washing machine, been stepped on, been watered up, been dirty, tattered, torn. Which one has more value?
That's
Neither.
true. Neither
They're
one.
both have the same value.
Yeah, they're both equal. Yeah. That's amazing. Well, I'm going to end it there because I mean, come on now, you can't say that any better than that. I'm gonna kick you both to the back real quick. I'm gonna end the show like I always do, but I'll be back with y'all here shortly. Is that cool?
Sure.
And again, thank you, Dr. Maisie. I would love to have you on again because I think that this definitely there needs to be a bigger forefront, and what you're doing down there in Texas, and what the bearding community is doing. Two great things, two great things to help one thing. So I will kick y'all to the back, but I'll be back with y'all here in a second. Thank you both from the bottom
Sure.
of my heart for coming on tonight.
Thank you. Thank
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That's tonight's episode. I hope you all have enjoyed it. I hope you all got something out of it. Thank you again to Shannon. Thank you to Dr. Maisie for coming on and talking about this. Sorry, getting a little emotional, but hey, it happens. Again, like I said earlier, if you can't make it down to the You Matter competition on January 20th, and you want to help out, and you want to help raise money for this great charity, across the screens of PayPal that you can send any type of donations to. That's the Big Shave NF5@gmail.com. That's the PayPal. They are $35,000 away from fulfilling this goal that they have in their community to get the resources out there that they need to help people in their community. So, wow, what a great first episode of 2024. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Hope to see you back in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'm going to have a good friend of mine. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. I'm going to have a friend on that has went through a kidney transplant by the name of Andy Lee Peroni. She's going to come on the show, and she's going to talk about her journey and dealing with her kidney transplant and things of that nature. So tune in on January the 19th. Yes. Well, hey, Daryl, the good thing is you can go back and rewatch it. It's a beautiful thing about this is that any of you, no matter what time of the day, what time of the night, you can always rewatch this over on the Shape the podcast page, and you can also find it on my page as well. So with that, I bid you good night. If you're going through anything, reach out, talk to somebody. My phone is always open. Shannon's phone is always open. Heck, if you want Dr. Maisie's information, I'm sure she'll be glad to share it, through Shannon, and we can get you talking and get you to where you need to be. So thank you guys. I love you all. Just continue to rock, continue to be that spark that we all need. Because like I said, one positive spark magnifies and people will catch it. So with that, good night, guys.